Halo Infinite Season 5 is here, and with it, it has brought a resurgence to its player base. If you're a new player, this is going to be a beginner's guide for you to get started with the game. Not only will this include tips on how to get better at the game, but it'll also include technical tips on how to optimize your performance and enjoyability of the game. This video is going to be split up into a few sections, so if you have a specific query or quandary, or just want to revisit any part of the video, please just look at the timeline. It should be split up nicely for you. Let's get started. Alright, so this first part of the video is actually going to start on the desktop, and we're just going to want to make sure that you've got the correct drivers. So in my case, I use an AMD graphics card, so I'll just use AMD Adrenalin, and I'll check for driver updates, and there we are, you're up to date. If you're an NVIDIA user, you will use GeForce Experience, and if you're an Intel user, I'm not sure what you'll use, but I'll link a video in the description on how to update your drivers if you're using one of those cards. Next, you're going to want to boot up the game and just be on the main menu for a second, and there's a few things we're going to want to check. So if you press the pause button, or if you're a mouse and keyboard, it's F1, and go to the settings, and then go to video, you're going to have a list of things here. So if you look at the bottom right, it's going to show you your VRAM usage. Now, depending on your graphics card, is going to depend on how much VRAM that you have available. And in my case, I've got 24 gigs because I'm running a decent AMD card with quite high VRAM. This game is actually quite VRAM intensive, so you'll benefit from having a flagship graphics card over a budget one. And these are some settings you're just going to want to go over, and this is going to depend on your personal PC rig. If you're on an Xbox, I don't think this applies to you, so you can skip this part. However, on PC, you're going to want to adjust your quality settings. Now, I'm in the very fortunate position where I can run the game on pretty much ultra settings and be pleased with the performance. So in my case, I've got most things on ultra, some things on high. However, depth of field, I'm going to knock down to low. This creates blurry areas of the game, which some people like because it's quite atmospheric. But in my case, I think it actually hinders your visibility when you're playing multiplayer. So I turn that down. And other than that, I think we pretty much keep, yeah, you can keep it the same. I don't have async compute on. I'm not really 100% sure what it does, but if you want to look into that, that's something that you may want. Ray traced shadows, I've decided to turn it off. I did have it on and I didn't really notice any difference. And if anything, I looked online and some people were saying that it makes the shadows more deeper, which, you know, may actually look nicer. However, for multiplayer purposes, I'm going to turn them off so that people are more visible. Then the sensory effects, you're going to want to turn most of these off because these are just visual cues. I mean, they can be quite atmospheric, but in terms of multiplayer advantages, they're going to give you a disadvantage because, for instance, you don't want any blur because you can't see things then. You don't want your screen to shake because that can disorientate you in a gunfight. The exposure, you know, bright flashing lights, you don't want to distract you. Full screen effects, such as your screen going red when you're shot, that's going to make it harder to see enemies. Speed lines is just distracting. And sharpening, now this will sharpen the image, which basically, it can be a good thing and a bad thing. The default is actually quite high. I've knocked it down to 20%. You may want to experiment with more or less just to see what's best for you. But personally, I think lower is better. So for this next part, we're going to be on the desktop again, and basically you're going to want to open a new File Explorer window. You're going to want to go to this PC and your C drive. Your Halo Infinite install might actually be on a different drive, but this should just be on your C drive. Go to Users, go to your user account, then go to App Data. Now, you might not have App Data available here. If you don't, go to View, Show, Hidden Items, and it should appear there. On Windows 10, that might be different. I'm running Windows 11, so that'll be how it looks for me. Then go to Local, then go to Halo Infinite, Settings, and then Spec Control Settings.json. And you can open this with Notepad. It might automatically open with Notepad. And then you'll be greeted with a bunch of text and grammar. So what you're going to want to do is scroll down to spec control _ minimum frame rate and spec control target frame rate. Now, these numbers here, the value numbers, are the frame rate values that they're going to aim at. Now, depending on your monitor, you're going to want to choose these accordingly. So in my case, if I right click and go to display settings, pick my primary monitor, go to advanced display. You can see I've got a 144 Hz monitor, so I won't be able to see anything more than 144 frames per second is what you might think. However, having a higher frame rate will reduce screen tearing, if that's an issue for you. So I've bumped mine up pretty much really high because performance isn't going to be a massive issue for me, and I've changed the minimum to 180. Now, if you've got a 60 Hz monitor, you may only want this target to be like, say, 90 FPS, because you're not going to benefit from a huge amount more, and you may want the minimum to be 60. So it does depend going from person to person. This isn't a one-size-fits-all, and it's also going to depend on your graphics card. If you're running something quite new, like a 30 series or 6000 series AMD GPU, then you'll probably be fine with this. But if you're running an older graphics card, you might not want to change these. But this is just something to think about. Okay, next we're going to want to be in Steam here, and we're going to want to find Halo Infinite. This might be different if you're running it through the Windows game installer or something else. But basically what we can do here is right-click, manage, browse local files, and it should open a File Explorer window. And then here in videos, we're going to have all the things like the intro and the tutorial and all those things. So what I've done, usually the intro will play like this. When you start the game up, it'll have an intro which is the Xbox Game Studios and 343 Industries intro. Now, if you try and delete this, it'll cause a crash. So what I've just done instead is replaced it with a video, which is literally just 1 second of a black frame. And basically it causes it not to crash, and it'll skip this intro every single time the game boots up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this to a Google Drive, and you'll be able to download this little video file, and then you'll be able to replace the intro. Now, what I've done, just in case it causes problems in the future, I've renamed this file to Intro 1, just so that I can back it up and repaste it in if there's ever a problem. So yeah, that link for this should be in the description of this video. Okay, we're back in game again now, and these are the next few things we're going to want to look at. Again, go into the pause menu, go into settings, and this is going to be quite subjective because it depends if you're a controller player or if you're a mouse and keyboard player. So in my case, I like to use the controller layout bumper jumper and keep that default. I turn vibration off, that's a personal preference, mostly just because it'll run your controller battery down, but it is up to you. I don't change really most of these. I turn on hold to crouch so that you can crouch spam and that'll help you win gunfights. I turn off hold to zoom, turn off hold to sprint. You can turn on movement assisted steering. I don't know why I have that off really. Maintain sprint is something you're going to want to have on. Auto clamber you're going to want off. Step jump, that's a personal preference. If you're standing next to a small ledge and you'll only jump to the height of that ledge, so you won't over jump. Now, I don't really like that, so I've turned it off, but it's not a bad thing necessarily if you want it on. Zoom reset behavior, Halo Infinite and Legacy, I've turned it to Legacy. Basically, with the sniper rifle, you can double zoom, and if you get de-scoped, someone shoots you and you get knocked out of your scoped in status. If you scope in again, it'll put you back into that double zoom. I want the zoom to reset, so I set it to Legacy. Now, this is where everything gets ultra subjective, and this is going to really depend on you, so try this out yourself. But I will just go over what I prefer. So I quite like low sensitivity with a high look acceleration, and the benefit of this for me is that when I'm trying to pinpoint shoot someone, I can have all those small intricate movements with my right thumbstick. However, when I need to swing around, the look acceleration will help me swing around. At least that's the theory behind it. I'm not sure how well it really works, but it seems to work well for me, so I keep it the same way. Next, we've got zoom sensitivity. Mint Blitz, he always recommends that you keep this on 0.8, so I've changed it to 0.8 for 1.4 times zoom. And then 1.6 is actually new, so I'm going to drop that down to 0.8 as well. Yeah, and these should all be 0.8 so that you have a good scale between your zoom and your sensitivity. Next is trigger dead zones. Now, these I haven't really edited. These may look exactly the same for you, so I don't know if you need to change these. This is quite subjective as well. So your dead zones are going to be, depending on your controller, your center and axial dead zones. Now, my controller isn't new by any means, but it's okay. It's in pretty good nick. So my move thumbstick dead zones I actually keep a little bit higher just so that I don't have that drift. However, the look thumbsticks, I let it drift a little, and that's because auto aim or aim magnetism in this game will activate when an enemy passes your crosshair, but it'll only activate if you're currently moving the right stick. Now, the cool thing about having a little bit of drift is that the game will act like you're always moving the right stick, so you'll always be getting that bullet magnetism, which some people might like, some people might not. But anyway, I keep all of these very low. The max input threshold on the move thumbstick depends on how quickly it gets to the max input. So in my case, I want that to be quite high for the move stick because I want to be moving around as fast as I can. However, I want it really, really low for the look thumbstick because I want it to be very intricate for gunfights and for aiming. That's just my personal preference. You may want to change it. Then the next part is all controls. Now, the reason I like bumper jumper is because the left bumper is the jump button. And basically what this means is that the A, B, X, Y buttons are then free for you to use. You don't have to press A to jump, for instance. So you can use the right stick to zoom while jumping at the same time, and that'll help you win gunfights. And a lot of people will use this controller layout, or a modified version of it at least. Obviously, that is, again, a personal preference, but that's what I feel like works best for me. Okay, moving on, we've got the field of view. Now, personally, I like the maxed out field of view because I've got a 32-inch monitor, so that, for me, works best. You don't really get a fishbowl effect at this size. However, some people may think this is absurdly high and may want to go for something a bit smaller, like even like 90 is what most like Valve source games will run on. However, I really like it high, but that, again, personal preference. So that's not a bad thing. Then next, we're going to want to go into accessibility and find out what your enemy color is. Enemy UI color, that's going to be red by default. Now, I like it the pineapple yellow color because I feel like that stands out a lot better against most backgrounds. Again, personal preference. Some people have it on like purple, for instance, and that maybe will work better for them. I just prefer yellow because I feel like with most of the maps in this game, it's very, very bright. It's very, very easy to see. Then we've got the outline opacity. We're going to want to turn these all the way up so enemies are as visible as possible. Next, we've got the reticle outline opacity. Turn that all the way up. Reticle outline thickness all the way up. HUD opacity all the way up. HUD marker opacity all the way up. Basically, we're going to want all of this visual feedback to be as identifiable as possible so we don't get confused or get any mixed messages. This is just, this will work. Obviously, again, if you prefer it to be more cinematic or, less sweaty, then, you can turn these down accordingly. But in terms of visual feedback, this is where you're going to want it to be. Next, if we go to gameplay, turn on your search region to expanded. That'll get you the most games quickly. You're going to want your HUD opacity up, HUD marker opacity all the way up. Tips and tutorials, you can turn that off. It just comes up with some tips. If you're a new player, you may actually want that on, but it's up to you. Text chat, I keep that on. I keep the display time quite low because, well, actually I could bump that up maybe a little. Keep that the same. There's no point really changing that. I changed this so that you hold the back button to see the scoreboard instead of just tapping it once. You can turn on your ping counter and the FPS counter. This will help you get a good view of what sort of servers you're on and your performance on certain maps. This is, again, the same outline settings from earlier. They're just in gameplay and accessibility because they fit into both categories. I've got this on show enemy names and show friendly names so that I can see who I'm fighting. Say you're playing on a game of quick play and one of the enemies is ridiculously good. You're going to want to treat him differently to how all the other enemies perform on the map. So if you see someone that you know is a threat, you can, you know, play it a bit safer. Or if you see someone you know is a bit of a pushover, you can double down and just destroy them. UI visual effects, I've turned all these off. They just get in the way when you're trying to concentrate on a gunfight. If you like those sort of cinematic settings, you can turn them back on. Okay, next we've got the weapon offsets. Now, these are like your view model positionings in like source games, and it'll, you know, show how the weapon, how much of your screen it obstructs when you're looking at it in first person. Now, this is personal preference. Some people like this quite in the middle. For me, I prefer it down on the right. So in my case, if I go to rifle, for instance, horizontally, it's all the way to the right. Vertically, it's all the way down. And depth-wise, it's going as forward as it can. And for me, I feel like this is a great way of just keeping it out of your screen, but also having a nice little visible weapon. Some people prefer the horizontal offset to be like all the way to the left. I don't like that. I did try it for a while. I prefer it all the way to the right. Okay, now that you've got some settings that you're probably a little bit happier with, we're going to start some of the gameplay stuff. So whether you're starting out, if you haven't played this game before, what would probably be best is to try out the tutorial and just get used to the movement systems. It'll also give you some smaller weapon drills which you can try out. It's just a really good way of getting started. Okay, so we're out here now in the tutorial area, and we're just going to go through it, and I won't go through too much stuff. There is actually an achievement for doing this assault course with a certain speed, so I don't think we'll get it today, but I'll just run through it as quickly as possible. This will get you used to the sort of the sprinting. You can jump, and then you can jump, and then if you press the jump button again, you'll clamber. Hold the crouch, take you through the bottom down here. Going to be able to melee the fake enemies. There we go. Your crosshair will turn a certain color when they're in optimal range. It doesn't mean that you can't shoot them from this range, for instance. Now, zooming in this game isn't actually like zooming in like other games like Call of Duty. It's just a visual effect. It won't help you aim. It'll just make the target look a bit closer. That's everything. But as you can see, if I'm moving my crosshair, the aim assist is quite heavy in this game. But that's because of all the movement mechanics that are in it. So if you see, we can just drop these targets now. Now, if you look at the size of the crosshair compared to the size of the enemy, now, can you see the circle is almost encompassed by the enemy, and that's probably the best range to start shooting. This will drop him quite quickly. However, if you're from further away, you're going to want to feather the trigger because it's not going to be as effective. There you go.
Let's try a different weapon. Zoom with your weapon for
This is the VK Commando.
range targets.
It's an automatic rifle. However, it's not really a weapon that people favor these days. If you zoom in, you've got a little sort of sight. Now, the thing is with Halo, we have descoping. So if you're scoped in and someone shoots you, you'll get knocked out of your scope. So hip firing is usually the way you're going to want to do it if you're within range. So good way to tell that is if your reticle is changing color when the enemy's about. You can sort of hip fire them then.
Aim for the head when enemy shields are down. Shields recover quickly. Suppress your advantage while your enemy is vulnerable. Headshot these targets once you've dropped their shields.
That's a good point, actually. So if you shoot someone in the head or shoot someone in the stomach or the chest or whatever, if their shields are up, it'll do exactly the same damage. The only time that a headshot is more effective is if the shields are down. So if I just shoot now like that, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 shots then to drop the target. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, again, drop the shields, 1 shot to the head. So just gonna wanna let the recoil carry through.
Nice work. Now for grenades. Grab some from that dispenser. Aim well and take out those targets.
Grenades aren't going to be something that is going to be usually lethal. It's going to usually be something that you just press on damage with before you engage in a gunfight. So you can use surprise grenades to your advantage. If you know an enemy's coming, then you can pre-grenade where they're going to be, and then finish them off with another weapon. So in this case, grenades will not explode unless they've bounced once. So you're going to want if you're going to want to do a short nade, you're going to want the grenade to bounce once. Like that. Or alternatively, if something's behind them, you can bounce it from there. So for instance, that sandbag would have been quite good. I could have just aimed it at the sandbag. I can do another short grenade. Now the problem is if I throw the grenade directly at the enemy, it's probably going to miss. Or even if I hit them. Yeah. So short grenades, aim for like a 1 bounce. That grenade actually got trapped on that guy's body, which is quite unfortunate. There you go.
Well done. Keep practicing. And when you're ready, meet us for the final exercise.
Oh, we're probably good. We can just keep going. The final exercise is just a game of
Welcome to the
bot slayer, basically.
You know the ba-
I won't go over the weapons too much now. I'll leave that for the weapon drill part of the video. So this is an overshield. It's a power equipment. There's 3 types of power equipment at the minute. And basically, if I use this, it'll double my shields. Now, as you can see, it's already ticking down. So you need to use that effectively. And basically, yeah, it'll just buff you in fights for a little bit longer. And power equipment and power weapons will be displayed with a little yellow icon. This is a plasma grenade. Whether the frag has to bounce... I just damaged a teammate. Okay. Yeah, whether the frag grenade has to bounce, the plasma grenade sticks. And it does a higher damage. It also sticks to enemies if you can land it on an enemy. I think I can show you with this guy. Yeah, it'll stick to him and explode. Obviously, they won't let us do that because we're still in the tutorial. I'll just grab the spanker now, which is the rocket launcher.
These particular dispensers deploy powerful weapons. Rather exclusively, I might add.
This is a normal equipment.
These contain specialized equipment that can give you the edge in combat.
This equipment is the thruster pack. So if you're walking in a certain direction and press the equipment button, it'll blast you in that direction. That was a one-time use one. This is a drop shield. If you drop it down, you can fire through it from your angle. However, if an enemy is shooting at you, they can't hit you through the shield. However, the shield will crack and break. You need to hide between that. If an enemy shoots the base, it'll destroy the whole shield. You can AI scan to find weapon pads. In this case, there's pulse carbine here. Okay, this is just basically a game of bot slayer, so it won't be too difficult. But it'll be good practice for you. Right, so now that we're in, we're going to have a pistol and an assault rifle. We want to go straight for the power weapons. While the rocket launcher, they've already had it. Overshields are going to be over here.
Excellent headshot.
Confirmed. The enemy is weak to bullets.
These bots aren't very intelligent.
Lead allergy confirmed.
There's a power weapon here. We're going to grab the rocket launcher. Rocket launcher is ridiculously powerful, but you don't have that many shots with it. So we're going to find some enemies who are not around here. If your enemies are dead, they're probably going to respawn on the very opposite side of the map to you, generally. However, there are exceptions. There's some enemies down here. I can see they're shooting. 1 shot, 1 kill. Just land it at their feet, basically.
Confirmed. Available.
Battle rifle, I'm going to grab that.
There's more where that came from. Overshield inbound. Lead allergy confirmed. Overshield available.
30 seconds remaining.
The battle rifle's great because if someone's shields are down, just shoot them in the head and that's it. Okay, so that was the tutorial. I'll try and cut that down so it's not too long because that took a while to get through. So the next part of this practicing segment of the video is going to be weapon drills. Now, if you look through the weapon drills, there's going to be a bunch of them for different weapons. Not all the weapons in the game are going to be here, just some of the most important ones. And the ones that you're probably going to want to focus on beginning is the bandit, the assault rifle, battle rifle, the commando, and sidekick. There are other ones that are important that you'll want to pick up, like the Bulldog, for instance. It's a shotgun. It's really powerful. However, these ones are ones that you can start with in different game modes, and they're going to be extremely, extremely useful. So let's get started with, well, since we've done the assault rifle and the commando in the tutorial, we'll look at the bandit next. And I'll just put it into an endless session. You can do different weapon drills where you have to drop targets in a certain amount of time, but endless is just a good way of getting accustomed to that weapon. Now remember to look at the size of your crosshair compared to how far away the enemies are. You may want to zoom in to get that extra sort of, view of them. And also the color of your crosshair is usually invocative of if you're in range to fire at them. So in my case, they're optimal range. Now remember 1, 2, 3, 4 to drop their shields, and then it's going to be 1, 2, 3 for the kill in the body, or 1, 2, 3, 4 to drop their shields and 1 to the head. And that's the way this weapon works. Now this weapon has got something called bloom, where if you spam the weapon, it's going to be less accurate. So the best way to be with this weapon is to feather it and aim more precisely before you press the trigger, especially if that means just taking it easy and not overdoing it. So I'll go back out into the weapon drills menu, and we're just going to quick fire all of the weapons just to get you a basic idea of what they're like. Okay, assault rifle is automatic. You just fire it at enemies, hold down the trigger. If you're close, feather it from a bit of a range. Make sure that they're inside the crosshair. Pulse carbine is a plasma weapon. It's going to have reticule travel time. So if I aim it at somebody and move around, it's going to take a while for it to get there. Now, it's not that great for long distance kills. It also needs to be vented every now and again, which is just the reload button. It looks better in the practice range. However, when people are actually strafing you in real games, it's not very useful. So what a lot of people will do is use it to drop a shield and then swap to something else for the kill, like a pistol or an assault rifle. Battle rifle can be a medium to long range rifle weapon, and if you look at the size of the crosshair again, it fits right into the chest from this distance. So 1, 2, 3 is almost drop the shields. 4th will drop the kill. Because of the recoil, you can travel that to the head. Now, if you shoot just at the body, it takes a good few more shots. However, if you aim sort of like in the middle of the chest, the recoil will carry it through to the head. It's probably one of the most important weapons to learn, so I highly recommend learning this one as soon as possible. Okay, Commando is one of the only automatic precision weapons in all of Halo. So what you're going to want to do, same as the battle rifle, sort of aim for the chest area, make sure the crosshair fills the entire space so you've got optimal distance, and just feather the trigger. Try and carry that recoil through to the head. That's probably the best way to do. Or if you're from a extreme distance, you can just tap it, get those one shots in, and just tap for the headshot. Automatic mode is going to be much harder to control. As you can see, it's very difficult to get the kill if you just completely hold down the trigger. It's very difficult with the bloom. Okay, this is the shock rifle. It's kind of like a sniper. It's got a zoom feature, and if you aim directly at the head, it's a one-shot kill. It's got 4 shots. That bot just flexing on me there. And basically, because it's a shock weapon, it's very good at dropping shields. So if 2 enemies are standing next to each other, or 3 in this case, I can just shock them all, and it'll drop all their shields at once. So it'll be good then to have another weapon to just finish off the kill. However, if you're good enough, you can aim for the head every single time and always get a headshot kill. There we go. The sidekick is basically one of the best weapons in terms of time to kill. It's got one of the lowest time to kills. You can fire it as fast as you can pull the trigger. However, the faster you pull the trigger, the less accurate it is. So you do want to feather your shots. Same as before, try and fit your enemy in your crosshair, get a good distance on them, and just try and drop the shields with the chest. Aim for the head for the last kill. Now, if you just aim entirely for the body, it's going to take a little bit longer. So you're going to want to try and get that last shot on the head. One thing I never mentioned earlier is that if you zoom in on weapons that don't have scopes, you'll just get a little zoom. You can't be knocked out of this when you get shot at. However, weapons with actual scopes, you can get de-scoped. Look at this guy. There we are. It's also got a very fast reload. The Mangler is basically like a revolver, which does quite high damage, low fire rate. But now if you look, the projectiles actually have gravity to them. So make sure to factor that in when you're shooting. It takes 4 shots if you don't land a headshot, but 3 if you do. Now, one of the most impressive things about this weapon is its melee power. As you can see, it looks like it's got like a little spike at the bottom. So if you shoot them once and then melee them once, it'll actually count as a kill. Now, I can't reach them to melee them because it won't let me jump over this. But basically, yeah, 1 shot, 1 melee, and they'd be dead. Okay, the next weapon is the plasma pistol, and this weapon has got 2 firing functions. It's got the normal function, where if you just fire it normally, it's very low damage. So, as you can see, like, the projectiles have got travel time. It also needs to be vented, like most plasma weapons do. And, yeah, as you can see, it's not that powerful. However, at dropping shields, it's very powerful. But getting that final kill is extremely difficult. So the second mode of it is if you hold down the trigger, it'll overcharge. And once it overcharges, the crosshair flips upside down, and you can blast a fully charged burst into someone. Now, this is great for corner camping. If you're hiding around a corner, you can charge this, fire the full shot, swap to a pistol or battle rifle, bang, headshot, and they're dead. It's called the noob combo, because loads of noobs used to use it back in the day. However, don't let that deter you. It is extremely, extremely useful. So there we are, swap to another weapon. In this case, I didn't have another weapon. And if you don't have another weapon or you're running out of time, you can just use it to drop the shields really quickly. Okay, so the Disruptor is another weapon which focuses on shields. It's an electronic weapon. However, it does actually have a fairly decent time to kill. If you land a few shots in a row, it'll do an electric blast thing, which does more damage. So this weapon rewards you for hitting a few shots in a row. Now, I can't actually show you what the main use case of this weapon is because it's not available in the practice range, but electric weapons can EMP vehicles. So if you've got a Warthog driving across and you land 10 shots of electric into it, the whole thing will stall and it won't be able to drive for a bit. So it's very useful at vehicle combat. This is the Bulldog shotgun. As you can see, it's got one of the largest crosshairs in the game. Even when you zoom, if the range on it isn't great. It's actually a fairly better range than the old shotguns in Halo. However, you're still going to want to get really close for this. Now, one of its main features is you can fire once. If you get a glow like that, 1 melee, and they'd be dead. Alternatively, if I let this guy recharge a sec, it can be 2 shots if you're very accurate, so to get that circle within the head zone. There we are, 2 shots. Now, if you don't get that headshot on the second shot, it's 3 shots. It's very, very powerful at close range. However, extremely useless at longer ranges. Okay, so this is the Heat Wave. It's kind of like a hard light energy shotgun. As you can see, the crosshair is quite wide. That's because it fires this like horizontal beam. Now, if you try and zoom with the Heat Wave, it won't zoom, but it'll switch the beam type to a vertical beam. And as you can see, these things bounce off walls. If I can get it to shoot myself with it. There we go, it'll do damage to yourself if you're not careful. Now, the cool thing about it is this switching of beams. Now, as you can see, this fits perfectly a Spartan at this distance, so I can just go bang, 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 and they're dead. Now, what's cool is if you get, like, say, the shields down, and someone's coming at you, you can switch to horizontal mode, and if you're close enough, you can just get that kill in without really needing to aim too hard. So I'll get like that. Don't really need to aim that hard since they'll fit in, you know, horizontally. This is the Sentinel Beam. It's another hard light-based weapon, and it'll do a solid beam of energy with a bit of recoil. And it has a very fast time to kill. So what I would do is aim for the chest and let the beam carry up into the head. It's quite a hard weapon to control because it has a very powerful recoil on it. This is the Needler. As you can see, it's got quite a big crosshair. However, it's got the ability to have the needles will track an enemy. So if I sort of aim it to this side, the needles will follow him. Now, if you hold the trigger, it'll fire automatically. And the thing is about these needles is that they're very low damage. However, if you land a few of them in the same enemy, they will do what is called a super combine, where they'll all explode. So if you hold the trigger down and get all the needles to land, they'll do a kill. This is the Stalker rifle. It's kind of like a marksman rifle. It's a plasma weapon, so when you shoot it, you need to vent it. And basically, it is, yeah, you can double zoom with it. It'll take down shields very quickly, and then 2 body shots to finish the kill. However, if you land the 3rd shot as a headshot, it will do a full kill. It can also be used quite well in hipfire, but it excels more as a zoomed weapon. Next is the Sniper. This weapon is basically a sniper. You've got a double zoom on it, and it fires a very high caliber shot that you don't want to spam. It's very, very accurate. However, if you spam while no-scoping, it's not that accurate. So no-scoping is kind of like a last resort with this thing. You're going to want to use it as a sniper rifle. However, when you do get those no-scopes, they are quite satisfying. So yeah, it's very powerful. So as you can see, you can double zoom from really far away. 1 shot to the body will drop shields. 2nd shot will be the kill. If you get a headshot, 1 kill. There we go. Look at that. Okay, this is the Skewer. It's basically a giant javelin gun, and as you can see with the crosshair, it looks like it's got drop-off. So if I fire it, as you can see, the projectile's gravity, and it takes a really long time to reload, but it is very, very powerful. It is basically a one-shot anywhere on the Spartan. Now, this is the problem with it, is you need to be pinpoint accurate. It has almost no aim assist. However, it is a complete one-shot, but you get 1 round, and it usually only comes with a really small series of bullets. Just like that. Can you see how hard it is to just get that kill on that static guy? Oh my god, yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's a great weapon, but where it really excels is as a anti-vehicle weapon. So if a Warthog's coming by, you can absolutely blast it with this. Not only will it send it flying, but it'll do a huge amount of damage. So yeah, it can be used as anti-infantry, but it's more for anti-vehicle. This is the Cinder Shot. It is another hard light weapon, but it's a power weapon, and it fires a ball of energy that will bounce once and explode, kind of like the frag grenades. So if you're fighting someone at this distance, if you want to hit them, you can sort of do that, but if you miss, it'll just go right behind them. So the sort of optimal way of using this weapon is sort of aiming at the floor, like between you and them, and then just using it like that. It's got quite a big splash area, but you do want to be quite accurate with it. It has got a secondary firing feature, which is it has tracking. So if I zoom in and fire and move the crosshair, it'll follow the crosshair to its destination. So the cool thing is if someone goes around the corner, you can sort of... It's not a very good way of demonstrating it on this map, really. Ah, hang on, here we go. Yeah, well, your mileage will vary with this weapon. It's very powerful, even if you just use it just in its base sort of abilities. But yeah, as you can see, it bounced off the geometry there quite badly. This is the Ravager. It's a banished sort of like mortar type weapon. So if you fire it, as you can see, it fires some energy, and it has gravity to the energy. Since it's a plasma weapon, it needs to vent. And if you land 2 consistent beams on someone, it'll be a kill. If you're in a gunfight, you may need to do this like, say like 3 times. This gun does have a secondary feature. If you hold the trigger, it'll charge up and you can fire a little burst, and that creates a little area of effect. It's really good for access denial. Say like, you know, an enemy is coming, you know, round the corner from you. You just charge up the beam, and then they have to walk through that to get to you, and it'll cook them alive. It doesn't do a huge amount of damage, as you can see, but it's enough to just, you know, ding them before they can get to you, and then you will have an easier time finishing them off. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, it's also quite effective against vehicles. It does quite a lot of vehicle damage. This is the Hydra. It's basically a lock-on grenade launcher type weapon. As you can see, it takes 4 shots landed from the lock-on mode to get a kill. However, this weapon's got a little bit of a quirk. If you don't use lock-on mode, it can take 2 if you land optimally. Now, this weapon is hard to use at this distance, which is why it encourages you to use the lock-on mode. You want to aim a little bit ahead of your target there. So this guy's standing still. See if I can just get the 2 shot on him. Or maybe they've changed it to 3 shots. Yeah, it might be 3 shots now. I could have sworn it was 2 shots, but it might be 3 shots now. But as you can see, it's very powerful. And if you can get those 3 shots at a close range, you can do a hell of a lot of damage. One thing about this weapon to note is it's extremely powerful against vehicles, especially air vehicles, because that lock-on mode, if you get an air vehicle in your range and you just release a barrage of rockets, that air vehicle isn't staying in the air for very long. Okay, probably the easiest weapon to learn is the rocket launcher. It has a massive area of effect and splash damage. You can use it to take down multiple enemies at once. However, if you're in a game of competitive, don't be afraid to just use this on one enemy at a time, just because it just absolutely wrecks people. So, as you can see in this training routine, they obviously want you to try and get them all in one go. So that was a double straight there. If I aim a bit further away from this guy, it'll blast off his shields. And if I had another precision weapon, I could just aim for the head. You don't want to aim at the enemies with this weapon. You're going to want to aim at their legs or the ground near them. Look at all these guys. You can just aim right in the middle of them. That guy managed to live. As you can see, it has a massive area of effect. Very, very powerful. Definitely worth contesting in a game of multiplayer. Okay, that was every single weapon in the weapon drills. So next we're going to be going into training mode, and we're going to be just changing the map. If you go into the 343 Industries maps, you can find, you know, a bunch of custom maps. I will go for my favorite map, which is Recharge, for the purposes of this, and we'll just enter into training mode. Okay, as soon as we're in training mode, there's some stuff we're going to want to do. So yeah, we're going to go back into the bot settings a sec, and I'm going to turn on enemy bots. I'm going to turn on all 4 of them. And bot shooting, I'm probably actually going to put that to Marine for now. Or actually, I'm going to put it ODST. Bot movements, I'm going to turn to Recruit. So it's going to spawn in a bunch of enemy bots. Now, we are invincible in this mode, so we can't die. So this is the best way to practice your strafing. So as you can see where the bots are coming. You want to move around, let them shoot at you. Have they got the ability to shoot? If I turn that off. Bot shooting oh, I haven't turned on bot shooting yet. If I turn on bot shooting. Okay, so I'm going to want to try and get away from them for a sec to recharge my shields. Maybe, in fact, I'll actually turn them to one enemy bot. And he's just fell off the map. Right, I'll wait for him to respawn. So we're going to want to crouch. We're going to move left and right. We're going to want to hide around corners. We're going to mix it up a bit. Don't let him get to us. He's going to try and hit us. That would have killed us. But it's not about, you will die eventually, but it's all about being as sneaky and as, you know, agile as you can. Basically, if you can stay alive, you can save yourself during a gunfight. That would have been fatal. I've turned this guy's difficulty up to ODST, so he's quite a tough guy. So yeah, once you've got sort of the basics down of strafing and shooting, then you're going to want to mix it up. So we're going to turn on the enemy bots. We're going to want to turn on their shooting difficulty, probably it's ODST, movement difficulty, ODST, turn on grenades, turn on strafing, turn on equipment, traversal, they can pick up weapons. Let's just let them do everything. And basically what we're going to want to do is just practice, gunfights. ODST is sort of not a ridiculously high level, but it's a level that they will be, at least a little challenging on. As you can see, they're quite... Oh, well, that would have been fatal. Yeah, okay, I would have died there. So just check your health bar. If it goes all the way down, you pretty much know. There you go, have that. He's around there. Obviously, in a real game, you won't be able to see through walls where they are. But for training mode, it's a very good way of knowing sort of where these positions are and just getting used to it. Look at that. These guys are actually quite tough in this difficulty. They will not miss, basically. So just get used to this, because it is definitely quite challenging. Okay, so after we've done the training, we've learned to strafe, we've learned to shoot, we've learned a bunch of stuff today about weapons. So the next part is probably map knowledge. If we go into Forge, we're going to choose a map. Any map. Let's pick the new map, Prism, which I really like the look of. We can play it in Forge, and it'll ask us to give us a name, but just call it Prism. Right, so this weapon pad here spawns the Needler, and basically if we go up to it and press RB, which is the select, and then if we press X, which opens the menu, we can see in the object properties some properties about it. So as we can see, its name is Weapon Pad 3, it has physics fixed and a bunch of other stuff. This is quite complicated, so feel free to just, go over this in your own time if you want to. But further down, it'll just tell us what it is. It's a Needler, and, it's a power tier Needler, which is an SMG class. It's a legendary value, and it'll tell us that it'll spawn every 90 seconds, which is very useful to know, because basically that means that if we pick it up and then later on we want to pick it up again, we can tell if it's been 90 seconds and we can come and pick it up. So that's really, really useful map knowledge. You can also just use the camera to just pan around and look through the map and, just get a good idea of where everything is, which is something I actually need to do myself with this map, because this map is new. It's very, very pretty, and I do really, really like it. So, yeah, just something worth doing. For your first game, I highly recommend starting with Quick Play. It's 4 versus 4, and basically it's not as sweaty as some of the other modes. It'll have a good variety of modes and a good variety of maps, and it'll get you used to the game. So that's a good place to start. If you would rather start on a bit of a bigger scale, I recommend Big Team Battle, since that's 12v12 on bigger maps, and there's vehicles and more power weapons and all those sorts of things. But it's a great way of just easing yourself into the game. Every mode here is different. Forbidden and Prism 24/7 are the 2 new maps that have been released in Season 5, and you'll be able to play those all the time. Husky Raid is capture the flag on extremely small maps where everybody's got random weapons. Big Team Heavies is like Big Team Battle, except there's more power vehicles and more power weapons. It can be more chaotic. Squad Battle is 8 versus 8. It's kind of like what Big Team Battle was in the previous Halo games, and it's even got some remakes of old Halo maps. Team Snipers is 4 versus 4, but everybody's got a sniper rifle. Ranked Slayer is just deathmatch, but you'll get a rank for playing, and there'll be skill-based matchmaking that'll react to your rank when you queue, and it's very, very sweaty. There's also some custom settings, like having the radar disabled and the starting weapons being different. We've just been over Big Team Battle. Infection is a really fun party game mode where there's a group of survivors and 1 or 2 zombies. If the zombie gets a kill, the survivor joins the zombie team and has to try and infect the other survivors. And it's really, really fun, especially if you can be the last person standing and you're having to defend yourself of hordes of the undead. Super Fiesta is basically random weapons, except with Super Fiesta, the weapons are always going to be the more powerful Tier 2 versions of the weapons. Quick Play we've been over. Ranked Arena is basically just ranked with a bunch of random game modes, much like Quick Play, but with the ranked settings. Team Doubles is like Quick Play, but 2 versus 2, and it's really, really great if you have a buddy. However, it can get very, very sweaty if you play too much of it. Free-for-all Slayer is no teams, everybody against everybody, and just constant murder. Team Slayer is non-stop, just team deathmatch all the time. However, the thing is the starting weapons are a bit different to in quick play. Tactical Slayer is really interesting mode where you get a precision weapon. You've got no shields and one headshot will kill you. So you need to be very, very careful. There's also no radar in that mode. And finally, Bot Bootcamp is a great way of just practicing against bots. It's just different modes, but with bots instead of real players. So if you still feel like you're not used to the game, Bot Bootcamp is a great place to get started. However, do quick play after that. Okay, we are now at the last part of the video, which goes over customization, battle passes, stores, and kind of like the fun stuff in the game, the stuff that you're kind of aiming for when you play. So first of all, we're going to go over what are armor cores, armor coatings, and weapon coatings and stuff. Sorry, I should have just shown us going into that menu. So if you go to Customize, Armor Hall, you're going to have some armor cores. So your Mark 7 one is going to be the one that you start with. You might have some of these, depending on how much you've played in the past. You might have none of them. I'm not really sure what new players will be seeing. But basically, there's a bunch of armor cores. So if we go back to Mark 7 for now and click on it, we're going to have armor coating, which is kind of like your color. You get a few base color ones, and then you get some interesting ones, which are kind of like gray with a color. And then you get some different rarities. So this is rare armor coating, which are the blue ones, epic, which are the purple ones, and then finally legendary, which are the yellow ones. And you can unlock these through playing, or you can unlock them through the store, or there's loads of different ways of unlocking things. Then you've got helmets, bunch of helmets, gray ones, blue ones, whatever. Shoulders, you got the hands, attachment on the wrist, attachment on the thigh, knee guards, emblem, and then you've got armor effects. I've got a few armor effects, but I'm not a big fan of armor effects, so I don't keep them on. And then you got the mythic effect, which is kind of like you burst into flames and, running while there's flames behind you. A bunch of cool stuff. Anyway, so that's what that is. And then alternatively, you've got the weapons bench, where you've got your weapon coatings, you've got attachments for your weapons, which can make it look radically different. You got your little charm. In my case, I got a Elite Series 2 Halo Edition controller, so I like to rock that. You can put your emblem. I reached Onyx in Season 1 of Halo Infinite, so I like to have that to show. And then you can also get like kill effects, so when you kill someone, they die in like a burst of fire or electricity or whatever. It's pretty cool. There's also a bunch of other weapons that you can do it for. I like to keep mine consistent. Vehicle bay. You can customize the coatings on your vehicles. Some of them are pretty nice, some of them are not. Cloud9 one I would like, but I didn't buy it when it came out. Shame. Body and AI. You can choose your body type. Do you want to be thinner or thicker? You can have prosthesis, so like robotic arms. You can choose your AI. I personally like Lumu. She's got a really interesting voice, which I don't really get that bored of. Where the Butler, Fret, and Cirque, on the other hand, I find quite annoying. And then you can choose your AI color, which doesn't really make a huge difference because you don't see your AI that often. Lastly, we've got Spartan ID, which you get to change your service tag. You get to change your voice. You can change your voice. There you go. You got your nameplate, which is kind of like an emblem. Your backdrop, which is the color. Oh, sorry, your backdrop, which is like the background sort of object color. And then your stance, which you can get through various means, through playing. Or you can buy some. I've got Active Genesis, which I've unlocked through 100% completing the campaign. And I quite like that one to use. So that's that. So next we've got the Battle Pass. And if we go to the Battle Pass menu and go to Switcher, you can see what Battle Passes there are. Now, unlike other games in Halo, you can play whatever Battle Pass from whatever season whenever you want. So if you want to go all the way back to Season 1, you can play that Battle Pass. Or if you want to play the new Season 5 one, you can play that. Now, bear in mind, you'll have to pay £10 or roughly $10 for the premium battle pass if you want to unlock everything. So if I go into season 5, for instance, everything that's marked with a little free icon above it will be free. However, other things won't be free. You'll have to pay for the battle pass to unlock this. Now, you might not want to just start paying, for battle passes as soon as you've picked up the game, because you may think, well, I don't know if I want to play the game in a few weeks. I might not enjoy this game. So if you want to get some easy unlocks, you can go to the battle pass switcher and you can do the winter update. The winter update was last Christmas's update, and basically everything in it is free. You get a free armor core, you get some free armor, visors, XP boosts, and it's only 30 levels, but you get some nice stuff basically. Then we are going to go over the store. So if you go to the store right now, you can see everything's going to cost the microtransaction currency. It's all limited time stuff. I'm not a big fan of the flood customization. I don't dislike it, but it's just not for me. You'll have things in here as well, like weapon models, like a different sniper model, if you're into that. However, some of these can be quite expensive. Also have HCS offers, so the Halo Championships. If you support a team such as Cloud9, you can buy their armor coatings. Gotta say, that actually looks quite cool. I quite like that. Okay, last thing to go over is probably challenges. So if we go to the challenge window over here, I've almost done my challenges for the week, so you'll probably have a few more. You'll have less if you've got the premium battle pass, but you'll still have a few. And basically what you can do is you can complete your challenges for XP. That will go towards completing the battle pass. So in this case, my one challenge I've got at the minute, which is tag you're it, assist in a kill by marking a target or kill a marked target with a headshot. So you can mark targets for friendly people to get, or alternatively get a headshot kill on someone else who's marked a target. Once you've completed all of your challenges for the week, you'll get given one final challenge, and then if you beat that, you get the ultimate reward for the week. So in this case, it's a armor coating called Run Little Demons, and you can see that if you go to the main screen, you can usually see what that looks like. In this case, it doesn't look like it's here. Alternatively, you can go into the menu and find out what that looks like just by finding it. Yeah, but anyway, that is basically it. So yeah, we've been over some quality of life stuff. We've been over video settings, controller settings, best way to practice, and customizing your Spartan. So we'll probably end the video here. Or in fact, maybe actually we'll just go over one more thing, which is the custom games browser. So if we go to the community tab, you've got the custom games browser. This is where people have made maps using the map editor and have, published them for other people to play. So like here, we've got White Run from Skyrim. We can give this one a go before we finish up. As you can probably tell, the map editor in this game is ridiculously good. Someone has done an excellent job at recreating White Run from Skyrim into Halo Infinite. And yeah, the textures on the road, just all of this map looks pretty amazing. And what's amazing is that if you've played Skyrim before, you naturally know where everything is. See what they've done to Jorveska. Oh, that's pretty sweet. The shrine. That's just been made using some assets, and to be honest, they've done an absolutely incredible job. I jump on top of the thing using the repulsor. Oh, this is cool. Yeah, anyway, as you can see, this game is really expansive and has a lot going on in it, and the community who make stuff for this game are ridiculously talented. So yeah, we'll round off the video here then. I feel like this is a pretty good spot just to see something pretty majestic and awesome. So yeah, if you like the video, I'm not going to ask you to like, but I will ask you to please leave a comment, just because I would really like this to be shared around if you found it useful. So yeah, thank you for watching and have a great day. Goodbye.